face and hands. Get out of that bed, wash your face and hands. Well, you get in that kitchen, make some noise with the pots and pans.
Hello and welcome. Today we're at the Man Kitchen here in Flower Hill, Alabama. We're going to be reconditioning some old pots and pans, cast iron, and they're rusted up a little, and we're going to take and bring those things back to new life, and we're going to show you step by step just how to do that with the use of a fire and hot coals and a little bit of lard, and we're going to make those things shine like new. So stick around and enjoy the show. These are some pots and tops that I've collected over the last year or so at different yard sales. Different pieces I've got, like your deep pots, some with lids, some without lids. Now these pots can be very expensive if you just go out and buy them, but these pots and pans here and skillets are rather cheap at yard sales. They may have a lot of surface rust on them. As you can see, this pot here, or this particular pan, I bought for $10. Now it's seasoned and cleaned up, can sell for over $100. These pots here, these old ones, are really nice. I can't remember every name, but these date back to the early 1900s. So we're going to take these today and we're going to season them in a fire, and we're going to show some people how you can turn your old rusty cast iron into some really nice pieces. Okay, as you can see, we've got our fire going. I'm using a hickory wood that works real well with seasoning cast iron, and I like using them because they hold a real good temperature when you're baking or cooking food, and they're just an all-around good utensil to use. We want to build up a real good base of coals. It usually takes a couple hours to 3 hours to get a good a pile of coals, and we're going to be using a hickory wood with some pecan, which will season the cast iron really well. And I like using hickory because of the smell, and plus it burns hotter than a lot of other woods. You don't want to use something like pine or anything like that that may leave a residue on the cast iron. So we're going to get this fire going. It's going to take us a little while longer and get us a good pile of coals, and then we'll start to put our pans and we'll start to put our pots in there and cure them one at a time. Okay, as you can see, we have placed a small rack that we'll be pushing the coals under and setting the cast iron on top of it. You can buy these at a local store for $10 to $15, and they just help you keep from putting them right in the fire. Now some people like to put theirs right in the fire, but sometimes they can get a little hot and they can crack like that, so you have to be careful not to get them too hot. So in this case, we'll be just placing these on top of the rack. We're going to start out with these two smaller shallow pans here. We're going to try to get those right over the coals and let those start heating up. Now you can see they're cold right now, but we have this right here, which is an infrared thermometer, which basically will tell me how hot they get, because we don't want them to get too hot and bust. So we're going to check these every so often and see what the temperature is. Right now they've already reached a temperature of 160 degrees from about 70 as we put them on there. So they're going to reach a temperature very, very fast. They're going to start to heat up, so we want to keep high. That one's about 195 going to 210, going to 215, 220, and as you can see, they're climbing. So the temperature is going to get up. It's going to help take that rust. It's going to ease that rust to where it can turn loose from that, and then we'll start the what we call the greasing of the pans to let the oil sink into the pores, and we'll be starting that shortly. Okay, this is what we'll be using to cure the cast iron with. This is your basic lard. I like using lard because this is what my grandmother and my grandfather used for years. You can buy a small container like this for $4, cheaper in some places. You can use other oils like Crisco or spray-on oils, but I like using the lard because I like I said, it's what they've always used on these, and it's, I think, a really good grease to apply to them, but any other oils will be sufficient. And as I said, it would be handy to have an infrared thermometer to be able to check the temperature as you're doing it, so you don't overheat the pans to a point to where they could actually crack. Okay, I've brought this piece of wood over here to be used. This wood's to be used to set the cast iron on, because it's going to be very hot, and you don't want to set it just on a regular surface, because it could either catch it on fire, bust it, or it could be very dangerous. So make sure you find a thick piece of wood, something to protect the countertop wherever you set it when you go to cure it. And also try to find a pair of welder's gloves if you can, to put these things or move them around, because they can get very hot. Okay, we're going to check the temperature on the cast iron again. Right now it's at 700 degrees, so the coals are really working well. And one of the advantages of using a fire outside is because you can reach a temperature up to 800 degrees, as a conventional oven in the house can only go to 450, maybe 500 when you're cleaning, and it can be very dangerous in the house to try to get that kind of temperature as you can get outside. So that's one reason we like to use the fire and the coals outside. So now we're going to start the process of actually pulling the pans out of the coals and letting them come down to a temperature where we can put the lard in it without it becoming combustible. We want to reach a temperature of about 400, 350 to 400 degrees, and then that way the grease won't actually catch on fire, but it can seep into the pores and it'll actually start curing the cast iron. Okay, you can see now that the rust is coming off of the cast iron, and we're going to pull that out of the fire just a little bit and let it start cooling down. That way we can put the grease in, or the lard, to start curing it. So we're going to just pull this out here, and it shouldn't take too long because we've got a cool breeze today, and sometimes you'll get a little ash in there, but you can kind of blow that out. And then we'll get the lard and put it in there and let that start melting. Of course, we don't want to put it in now, it's so hot, it's about 700 degrees. We'll let it get down to about 400, and then we'll start curing it with our lard. Okay, we're going to place our lard in there. We'll just take a large spatula and scoop some out. Put that in. Just enough to melt in the bottom. Just take it and just kind of roll it around in there and let that start melting down into the pores. And of course, when you get through, you can pour any excess you have out into another container to be reused, so you don't waste it. Get that puddle up there a little bit. There's plenty in there, so you can kind of roll it around the sides. Get that grease in there. What that's going to do is it's going to help kind of loose that rust that's already turning loose somewhat. That looks real good. That's alright. We'll let that set for a while and let that get worked in, and then we'll pour that out, and then we'll cure the bottoms. We have took and we have poured the grease in an excess pan that we had poured in there, and now we're going to slide the cast iron back over the coals, and that's going to take and get really hot, and it's going to bake that grease down into them pores. And as you can see, it's already turning black in the bottom where it's seeping into pores. We're going to do this for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, as you can see, the grease is starting to bubble a little, and you can see that it's starting to foam up just a little. And what that's doing is it's kind of frying. It's starting to get like bacon does when you put it in the cast iron. It starts to fry and sizzle, and that's what we want to do. We want to come to a hot fire or a hot sizzle. Now we've taken our pots off of our fire, and they're very hot. What we want to do is take some regular shop rags like you'd use in a shop, or paper towel. We want to start wiping this out. You have to be real careful not to burn yourself. And we just want to go around the edges where you can see that starts to turn black. It's starting to get that off. It's starting to cure your pot, or in this case your pan. After you've done the top part, just turn it over and then start putting a little bit of lard on the bottom and just let it kind of melt. Be careful not to burn yourself. It's still a little hot. Take your rag as it's melting on it and just kind of in a circular motion, it's like waxing a car. Just start rubbing it in, and that's to help loosen up the rust also that's been there for a while. The pan is still about 200 degrees, but that's just enough to let that oil get in there and penetrate. And like I said, it'll help turn the rust loose, and that's what we want to get rid of, is all that rust. And of course it takes time. It won't happen overnight. The more you cook in these, the better they look. They get that real pretty shine or sheen on them that really is just hard to describe. It's a beautiful look. Just a look you can't get with conventional cookware. A lot of the chefs today are going towards cast iron because they hold and retain their heat so well, like copper. And a lot of great chefs are going back to this old style of cooking pans and pots. These are what has been used for centuries and centuries, and it's just they're going away. People are getting to where they just throw them away, and then eventually they'll just be hard to find these old things because generation after generation are slowly not using these kinds of cookware anymore. So when you see one in the yard sale and it looks bad, just remember to pick it up and take it home and clean it like I've shown you, and use it, and you'll see when you cook with it. My wife loves it now. The things that she cooks, she says it holds heat so better, it cooks things a whole lot better. So just give it a try, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
Get out of that bed, wash your face and hands. Get out of that bed, wash your face and hands. Well, you get in that kitchen, make some noise with the pots and pans.